Fans of the channel, stay tuned until the end of the video for a big announcement. Enjoy the video. If you told me that Marvel Rivals was going to become my game of the year in 2024, I genuinely wouldn't believe you. Well, I mean, I believe you now, of course. Holy crap, Marvel Rivals. I love Marvel Rivals. I can't put down Marvel Rivals. I didn't really pay the most attention to Marvel Rivals' development or hype cycle. It was a game that flew right past my radar because, well, I don't really like online multiplayer games. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I like online multiplayers, only when I'm not bad at them, which is oftentimes not the case. There were many beta testings and times that I could have tried the game, but again, this completely missed my radar because I mostly just wasn't interested in an online shooter. Goes to show how much I really knew about the game because it's not just a regular online shooter, it is a hero shooter, which it doesn't have the best reputation. I dabbled in Overwatch 2, which was a fun game from time to time, but if I was playing alone, that game just wasn't fun whatsoever. It was either curb stomp the enemy or get curb stomped, and if I played that game alone, I would get needlessly competitive and often rage. I could also never find a main, which was a huge problem for me. I could never find one character that suited me and constantly flip-flopped between random characters whether or not it fit my team comp or not. Now, if I were to play the game with friends, however, I would usually have a really good time. I used to play with about 2 others, and it was a great time all around until they stopped playing, leaving me with no one. Again, I fear that Marvel Rivals would have the exact same problem. It's a hero shooter with a much more casual approach to it. There's no role queue or anything like that. I was afraid I'd just not like the game. Maybe I would just not find it fun. Well, you already read the title and watched this far into the video. We all know that's not the case because this game is the best. I don't know if this is recency bias or what. I don't know if I'm experiencing the heyday of a new game before its crucifixion of overbloating or whatever, but man, this game simply rules. I have my gripes with it, which I'll get into much later, but the positive simply outweighs the negative. I was contemplating whether or not I should even make this video in the first place due to me thinking it might be recency bias. But I've been playing this game pretty much consistently since it came out, and I don't think this feeling is going to go away anytime soon. Oh, it just turned 12 a.m. on January 1st, 2025. Happy New Year. I'm recording this on New Year's. First, the good. It's characters I recognize. This seems like the most obvious point, but the natural interest I had in this game was that it just came from Marvel, but it also came with a lot of hesitancy. Marvel doesn't really have a good track record with their games, to say the least. For every Insomniac Spider-Man, you get an Avengers live service game. It's a very mixed bag, and you never really know what kind of quality you're gonna get with a Marvel game. It could be anything, and you'll never know until you get your hands on it, and judging by how Overwatch 2 launched, yeah, I wasn't holding on to hope. But surprisingly, very much a shock to me is that this game released in a magnificent state. I'll be real, if this game wasn't Marvel-based, if this was some kind of original IP like Overwatch, I probably wouldn't have gotten into the game. At the time of its release, I was getting back into comic books, which I hadn't bought any since I was in the 6th grade, so this game came out it just kind of came out at the perfect time to pique my interest. A hero shooter with legacy characters like Spider-Man and other Marvel characters just kinda sounds like a great idea. I'm surprised it hasn't been done sooner. Your move, DC. Since this game is focused on many characters from Marvel, I also feel a lot less pressure to pick a character I want to play as. This may sound weird, but due to all of these characters being ones that I recognize, I'm far more inclined to main the character that just looks the coolest to me since I love a lot of these characters. I've been in a very X-Men mood this year since I watched Eggman. I've been in a very X-Men mood this year since I watched X-Men 97, and before that, Wolverine just was one of my favorite superheroes, so I immediately started playing as him. And then I gravitated towards Magneto. I could definitely get down with a main in this game, but I just wanted to try out all of my favorite characters to see how they would feel in play, which made me even more excited to play the game since it was released with a whopping 33 characters. Overwatch 1 had that many by the time it was done, and we already have like 8 more characters that have been fully leaked too. The roster already felt very complete, and the fact that we're getting so many more, again, it just makes me want to keep playing. Not to mention, these guys' designs are absolutely killer. I know there are some people out there who may be weary of the redesigns of certain characters in this game. Apparently Wolverine's design was a hot topic amongst fans, but like, come on, you gotta admit this is cool, right? Now, there are some designs that miss the mark a bit. looking at Spider-Man in particular, but I definitely think that there are more hits than misses. Some of my favorite designs just so happen to be characters that I've seen criticized the most. Wolverine, Magneto, and Thor are just some of the coolest dudes I've ever seen, and I think the art style only serves to help the looks of these characters. This game's art style has sauce! Marvel Rivals should be the standard for what comic book games should strive to look for in their art style. Realism is cool, I guess, but do I really need to make that comparison? Come on. I've gotten sick and tired of realism. Take me to a fantasy world. This is a multiverse game after all. Show me some crazy designs. Get weird with it. That's supposed to be the point. Also, realism looks terrible a lot of the time. The exaggerated proportions, the bright colors, the grunge to it all, it just comes together so well and is something that I strive for in my own art. If you don't like the art style, that's fine, I guess, but this really does feel like an art style specifically catered towards me, so, you know. It's a cartoon. You're playing as a feral, smelly 5'2" Canadian with claws that come out of his hands. It's not that serious. Speaking of the characters, I think it's actually time we really talk about the gameplay. I get where the Overwatch comparisons come from. I really do. On the surface, it really does look to be just that, Overwatch, but Marvel. And I won't lie, some of the characters, yeah, they feel rip straight free. Yeah. This isn't anything new. This is the exact same conversation people had when Overwatch first released. Remember that? Probably not, but back in 2016, everyone was comparing Overwatch to Team Fortress 2. We're just lucky that Overwatch had a lot of staying power, I guess, because now history is simply repeating itself, and I'm honestly fine with it, though. You can only get so creative with characters like the Punisher. Of course, he's going to shoot like Soldier 76. They both have assault rifles. Duh! But beyond the surface level, this game really does much more to separate itself from Overwatch and other hero shooters to a point where I was genuinely impressed with how much they were doing. Staying on the surface, this game has a much bigger focus on melee attacks than Overwatch. I found so many characters that were purely melee, which is honestly really cool. It makes you fight a lot more personal when up in your opponent's face, really getting in the action. And yes, we do have ranged characters too. It's not purely a fist fight out there. Although I will admit some of the ranged characters are far more obnoxious because of this. Hawkeye, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch especially all have a major advantage on other opponents like Hulk and Wolverine because they can just hang back and aim in your general direction and win, because when you hit them once, that bitch flies away to heal, come back and just do the same thing. I really don't like Scarlet Witch. But in all seriousness, I really do like the melee focus. It makes fights a lot more fun, especially with characters like Wolverine, where your ranged attacks mostly come from the melee, if that makes any sense. For those playing on Xbox, his LB or L1 if you're on PlayStation launches them up into the air, and God, I love that move so much. It doesn't have the craziest range imaginable, and you do have to be right up in the opponent's face for it to really be useful, but it is a really fun move to not only use for attacks, but for mobility as well. You know, the game does a really good job at trying to balance out the ranged attacks from the melee. If the character that you're playing as is predominantly melee, usually they do have one or two side attacks that does enhance their range quite a bit. Like Thor, you know, his Thor Force, if it reaches up to 3 bars, you can activate your Thor Force and you can shoot lightning all over the place, and it's really powerful and really cool, but usually you are just delegated to the basic swings ahead of you. Or you can use a bar of Thor Force to just swing your hammer back and forth. Hulk, it's very similar. He has mostly just very close range attacks. He's very much a melee focused character, but then you can have his Hulk jump, which takes a little bit to charge up, but it swings him all the way across the map. You also have the Hulk clap and the I don't know what the attack is called, but the one that freezes you in place for a little bit. Those are ranged attacks that really balance out Hulk as a character, because I know a lot of people think he's garbage. Those are just people who don't understand Hulk and don't play him, clearly, because he does get really, really good once you do know how to use him. I main Hulk. Another thing that really sets this game apart from Overwatch and all the other ones is the destructible terrain. This really isn't as big of a deal as the melee focus, but it's still really cool seeing the effects that your characters have on the terrain, even going as far to completely reshape certain areas and choke points, forcing people to really think outside the box. It's a fun mechanic that, with further exploration and new maps hopefully coming into the game, has a lot of potential. Another thing that ties back into the character roster is how unique this game feels, and that it's finally drawing from all corners of Marvel lore and history to make a very fun and varied roster. I hardly think superhero fatigue is a thing. We've just been in a very low point when it comes to superhero media and pop culture. But we've also had some high points. Although it can't be denied that with the MCU being as large as it is, we've seen far more of their characters than we have any others. This, of course, applies to the multimedia aspect of it all. The big three in Marvel pre-MCU was Hulk, Wolverine, and of course Spider-Man. The MCU comes in and Hulk is just kind of thrown to the wayside as he's only allowed in team-up movies. Spider-Man will always be up there because it's Spider-Man. And the X-Men also just fall to the wayside because the popularity of the Avengers was just too large. Everywhere you go, it's Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, soon to be Guardians of the Galaxy. All of a sudden, there's hardly any X-Men media going around. 7 different Avengers shows are popping up, and we're getting far more comics featuring the MCU characters. Iron Man now resembles Robert Downey Jr. and not the other way around. Star-Lord now resembles Chris Pratt. Things like this. And now that Disney bought Fox and Spider-Man is allowed in the MCU, we're finally able to see more content featuring other characters that aren't prominent in the MCU, and Marvel Rivals did it perfectly. It feels like we're finally leaving the age of MCUification, where every piece of Marvel media needs to resemble what people are most familiar with, and because of this, we got some of my favorite character designs out of this game. It's also just nice being able to watch characters like Wolverine and Hulk interact. That's very much something I miss. This game is going for its own thing, and for that, I can only give kudos to the developers. This game is different, and that's a huge part as to why I love it so much. But it's also not perfect, which is fine. But I have to share some of my grievances. This game is pretty unpredictable. I know absolutely nothing about game details and the inner workings of what makes a game, but the matchmaking can sometimes just outright suck, just like with Overwatch. There have been a lot of games where you completely destroy the other team, going as far to push them back into spawn. Or it's the other way around. The best games are when it's relatively even and the outcome isn't so certain. Yeah, this is more of an in general thing and not specific to Marvel Rivals. I've actually come to notice that it's when I have a full lobby of friends that we actually manage to find even more games that are much closer, but that might be due to the game knowing our skill levels and being able to make a team much better or something like that. I can't say for sure. I know nothing about this kind of stuff. But when you do get a proper match in that doesn't steamroll you, it's pretty fun. With friends, it makes the sting go away much easier. Unless you have a Hulk that was AFK the whole f***ing game, how was that your highlight? Something I've seen so many people talk about as well is the addition of a role queue, which I don't necessarily think there should be. I mean, it can only really help the game, I guess. But it's going to be really annoying getting into a match knowing that the ratio of people maining duelists compared to the other people maining anyone else is probably very staggering, yet not surprising at the exact same time. In a regular game, the most time I've had to wait is 3 whole seconds to get into one match, and that's on very rare occasion. Solo queuing is obviously less fun considering you'll probably be playing the game in silence the whole time. Or get sexually assaulted by Iron Man. You know, it's pretty 50-50. Back to the role queue, though. When I started playing the game on release, I was a duelist main. I got the luxury of playing whoever the hell I wanted because Wolverine just so happened to be one of my favorite Marvel characters, so I immediately started to learn him and Moon Knight on the side. I like dealing damage and often getting MVP because of it. But then I started playing with friends, who also just so happened to play as duelists. You of course see the problem here. I knew some guys who played healer on the side if they had to, so that left me with the tanks. Out of pure love for the game, I learned how to play Hulk, who was my main for a very long time. Because I was forced to play the game outside of my comfort zone, I now have a completely different main than what I thought I would. Now, if I had the luxury of playing Duelist, I also do go with my original mains. There's no doubt about that because I just can't play on the same character all of the time, and this theory was only proven even more true as I got another friend in the game very recently after writing this video, and we got him to play a healer when he wanted to be a sniper, and he's like, wait, the healer's pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, the exact same thing happened to me. I wouldn't have tried these characters otherwise unless I was really backed into that corner to where I really needed to play as another character, and now they're my main. I really like playing as them. Hulk was a character I never thought I'd learn to play. I really like Hulk as a character, but it just wasn't the type of character I thought I'd be constantly playing as. I can main anyone who I think looks cool because these are the characters I recognize, and with the roster eventually growing even more, I'm probably going to have the exact opposite problem that I had with Overwatch, where I couldn't find a main in that game, but in this game I'll probably have too many mains, you know? Thor probably has the best skins in the entire game. I'm just gonna be honest here, that's my opinion. And now that I was a tank guy, I just casually learned how to play him one day, and when I got all my friends on, and yeah, he's that guy. I love Thor. I love playing as Thor. I just, I need to get some money to buy his skins. I really am surprised I ended up liking the game as much as I did. Marvel Rivals is my game of the year, hands down. I mean, the only competition it had was Sonic X Shadow Generations, but that still was a very high bar. It got me back into online shooters, and I finally have another game to play with all my friends, and best of all, it's free. It really can't get any better than that. I love this game, and right after I'm done with this video, I'm gonna play some more. So that's going to be all from me today. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It's the start of the new year, and I know we can hit 5,000 subscribers pretty easily. I would love to see you all there. And of course, don't think I forgot about that announcement. For real fans of the channel, I think you're going to enjoy this announcement very much. It's something that I've had in planning for a very long time. You're really going to get a glimpse into what's in store for the whole year, and I prepared a oh god, I prepared a very special video for it, so I hope you all enjoy it. My name is Dylonic, and I will see you all in the next video. Take it easy and stay fresh. Here's to the new year. Super Mario, you know him, hopefully you love him, and this year, that's right, 2025, we're gonna be going through every single mainline Mario game and talking about them on this channel. One video a month dedicated to Mario-thon 2025. Going from Super Mario on the NES to the other ones, and then Super Mario Wonder on Switch. In that order, that's right, Mario-thon 2025. Hell yeah. First video on it drops in like 2 weeks. Okay, bye.